Hey, this is Daniela, and today is April 20th. So I started to make a VEDA video, not really sure what I wanted to talk about, and then I kind of hit on something towards the end, but that was around the 4-minute mark, so I figured I'd just start over. So as some of you might know, I teach high school. I'm a high school Spanish teacher in North Carolina, and one of the things I like about being a teacher, working in the school, sorry, there was some dragonflies, I just really like the natural start and end to the school year and kind of feeling like I get a fresh start every year. It's nice, even if you have some of the same students. There are new classes. And then in North Carolina, most of the public high schools are actually on a 4x4 semester block scheduling. So every semester, students have 4 classes. At the end of that semester, they take exams, and then they get 4 new classes the semester after that. And that's actually what I experienced when I was in high school. My freshman year was the first year they switched over to that block scheduling. And for the most part, I did like that. I like the ability to, instead of only taking 7 classes, you have 8 in total for the whole year. So you have the ability to take like an extra class each year. And I was able to double up on Spanish, like some students can double up on things. So I used it to take as many Spanishes as I could. I took Spanish 2, 3, 4 my sophomore year, 5 in AP Language my junior year, and then AP Literature my senior year. And I'm sure in some cases they had to make, schools would probably have to add additional classes that they didn't need to have before. But I did enjoy that, and, even as a teacher, sometimes it's nice to get finished with a semester and then get a new group of kids and then have the ability to kind of start afresh. Because sometimes there's just maybe a couple students or a class or so that you just don't really get along well with. And when that semester ends and you don't have to deal with them anymore, it's nice. Or maybe you're teaching a certain class and you're doing some new things, or maybe you're doing things that you've done before and you realize, oh, I could have done it better. And instead of having to wait a whole year, you just wait till the end of the semester, and if you have that same class, like Spanish 1 again, then you can say, oh, how will I do this different? And you can do it differently. And those are some of the things I like. Some things that, it's not that I don't like, because I don't know how else I would do it. But because we have classes that are only for a semester, classes are 90 minutes long, which can be a long time. For some classes, I'm sure it kind of works out like PE classes. You can probably find things to do. And again, when I was in school, like some days, like in Spanish class, it worked out. And some of the days that I have in class, it works out. Like if I assign my students a project, I don't have to say, okay, we're going to work on this for 2 45-minute class periods, but you have to do a lot of it at home. I can say, okay, we're going to work on this for 1 class period, or maybe part of 1 class period and part of the next day. If you need to do anything at home, you can, but you don't have to. But sometimes it can be tough to kind of fill the time. And that's mainly because I don't want to feel like I'm giving my students too much, because, in a 45-minute class, for example, you can kind of focus on whatever themes or topics you're focusing on. And, 45 minutes can go by pretty fast, so you're only going to have students do a certain amount of activities. Like when I did student teaching, I was at the middle school level, and their classes were 45 minutes long. So maybe you'll have them work on 3 or 4 different things that maybe help them practice maybe 2 different things, like practice vocabulary or practice something with verbs. And then you do that for maybe 2 weeks. But with 90-minute classes, it's not like I can just double up and say, okay, instead of practicing verbs with these different activities for 20 minutes, we're going to do it for 40 minutes for 1 week. Because that can be kind of boring. And I know like grammar is kind of boring, and I'm not just going to make my students do 40 minutes of grammar. So then the question is, do I make them do more things? Because sometimes I worry that I throw too much on them, like, all right, we're going to learn about AR verbs. We're going to practice with that. But now we're also going to learn the verb to like, and we're going to practice with that. And we're going to learn these certain verbs or these certain vocabulary words, and we're going to practice with like 3 or 4 different things. So yeah, there are advantages and there are disadvantages, and just like, if I had a year-long class or taught at a year-long school, I'm sure there would be disadvantages. I'd have to teach 5 classes at a time instead of 3, and I would have way more students at once, and then the students would be taking 7 classes, so maybe they would have more homework. So I don't really know. I've never actually taught in a high school that had year-long courses when I was in grad school, and I had to observe the different levels because my certification is K-12, but that was only in the fall, and my main placement was the middle school. So when I observed the other, like elementary and high school, I was at the high school, but only for a month, and by a month I mean once a week for a month. So I was there on Wednesday for the whole day, and then I went again the next week, so I don't really have a feel of what it was like to be there for the whole school year. Again, when I was a student, I'm not saying that I just love the semester block scheduling, because there were definitely days in some of my classes, especially like math class, which was always challenging for me, that 90 minutes could take a while to get through. And I know some of my students feel the same way, but I also realize the advantages of being able to double up on certain classes, and we definitely have students that don't double up on languages or will wait a year. And even if you take like level 1, Spanish 1, 1 year, and Spanish 2 the next year, depending on what semester you have your classes, it might be a year before you have the next level. So that's another disadvantage. I think overall, as long as you, as a student, are willing to apply yourself and work hard and realize what you need to do, it can work out, and it's what we're dealt with. I sometimes wish classes were a little bit shorter. 90 minutes can be a long time. But overall, I work with what I got. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that? What were your high school experiences like? Did you have any kind of semester schedules, maybe A day, B day? I'm curious, because like I said, this is the only kind of schedule I've ever personally experienced in high school. It's what I had when I was a student, and it's what I teach with as a teacher now. And so many of the high schools in North Carolina do this. Well, that's my video for today, and there's only 10 days left of VEDA videos, so that's exciting. Well, I'll see you tomorrow. Stay awesome. It's DFTBA, and bye.